look at the harmful effects of pornography. Now, in public spaces or even amongst a friend, when you mention the word pornography, there's always a sort of gesture or comment that you get. That's because it's a very awkward conversation and nobody really likes to talk about it. But we're going to take the time today just to look at it. And before I begin, I always like to be very transparent with everyone when I talk about this topic because my life is an open book. And I personally was first exposed to pornography at the age of 11. It was not something I went looking for. It actually happened one night looking at cable television, and I had my first exposure to softcore pornography. From there, it went on, and I remember going to secondary school and meeting up with my then best friend, and he introduced me to, back then we had VHS, which no longer exists, but back then that was the means on which pornography was really distributed. And he introduced me to my very first hardcore content of pornography. Now, some of you may be wondering, well, Jerome, what is the difference between softcore porn and hardcore pornography? Well, softcore pornography, they actually don't produce much softcore pornography because it doesn't sell. And what softcore pornography basically is maybe like a little kissing, there may be a little groping, a little touching, some light music being played in the background. There's nothing too graphic. It's just something to make you go ooh and ah for. As opposed to hardcore pornography, this is where you see every single angle that the human body can possibly go in at every position. The lighting is just right, and it sells an image to you that this is what sex is supposed to be like. So I was gradually introduced to porn from mild pornography being softcore to the very extreme. And I went through my secondary school years struggling with it, entered into university, struggled with it as well. Mind you, I kept up a very good image. I was involved in church. I was not a party goer, wasn't involved in too much carnival and wildlife. I was very much active in my church, part of the youth ministry, hospitality ministry, St. Vincent de Paul, you name it, I was part of it, right? And no one knew that I had this struggle, but deep within me, I felt that there was another person being birthed. I was continuously giving into these desires, and I knew I needed help, but I had nowhere to go. No one was willing to talk about this issue at that time. And when I did seek help from those that I thought would have been able to give me a better perspective on this, they just said that, it's a phase you're going through, nothing is wrong with it, you are fine, you're going to be okay. And I went through all of my adulthood like that. And I realized that this cannot be fine because I entered into depression. There was times I was very lonely, full of anxiety, very easily angered. And I know that that was not the type of person that my mother raised me to be. So eventually I sought help from a ex-pornography addict who created a program, and he was willing to coach me. And I remember the first thing he shared with me, he said, Jerome, it doesn't matter what I say to you or what priest you go to or what counselor you speak to. He said, if you are not willing to make that change, nothing is going to change for you. And I tell you guys the honest truth, because it really did happen. I did not speak to him for 2 weeks. I denied all of his calls because the truth was I wanted to serve God and at the same time have my very own Jerome's private party at the end of church. And God was calling me to a place where I had to choose one or the other. Long story short, I contacted him and I said, you know what? I am ready to go. Whatever it takes to get rid of this, I will do it. It took me 3 long years, guys, to reprogram my mind to a mindset where I can now function the way God designed me to. And life has been just absolutely incredible. My relationships are thriving. And I remember back in 2016, just when I got back onto course, there was a lady who came to my church and there was a symposium that was taking place in Trinidad. And I went up to her and said, you know what, I would like to share my story because I believe that someone somewhere in the world can benefit from what I went through. And maybe maybe there's someone who may be struggling as I was. So at that symposium is where I met the CEO and founder of Fight the New Drug, the organization of which I am part of. And we connected together because I gelled, I agreed with the mission that we they have which using only science, facts, and personal accounts. And some people ask, well, why are you guys not a religious organization, Jerome? Do you not believe in Jesus Christ? And the answer, the truth is, yes, I do believe in Jesus Christ. But the issue is that pornography does not just affect Catholics. It doesn't affect Anglicans. It doesn't affect Christians. It doesn't affect a certain group of people. It affects everyone. So as to not offend anyone in terms of their faith and their belief, we decided to rely solely on science, facts, and individuals' personal accounts. Now, when I share my personal story, you would hear in depth the journey that God took me through from being so compulsively addicted to pornography to being a person who speaks all over the world to help individuals who are struggling with this. And we are non-religious, non-legislative, and non-profit. We are also non-GMO and we are gluten-free. I just made a joke. The last two is not true, but we are a non-profit organization based in the United States. So what we're going to share, as I just laid that foundation, I just wanted to share with you guys the truth. What we're going to go in through here, we're going to look at, because the issue of pornography is just so wide that we can spend the entire evening here talking about it. But we're going to look at it in three specific areas. We're going to look at how it affects the brain, that's the individual who is consuming pornography. We're going to look at the relationships, how it affects the heart. This could be a relationship with your friend, your parents, if you're in an intimate relationship, or even if you're married, how pornography affects that as well. And last but not least, we're going to look at the world, how it affects our society, because many people, specifically, I love to speak directly to women, because most women, the majority don't really struggle. Although we are seeing through research that there's a growing number of women that are struggling with pornography, the majority don't really have an issue with this. But that doesn't mean that this call is not for you. So I'm speaking to every single person on this call tonight, wherever you are, whatever position you may take on pornography. We just want you to be open to the information we're going to share with you tonight. And at the end, guys, Fighting New Drug is not about being anti-pornography organization. We are actually pro-love more than we are anti-pornography. So we're just going to share the facts with you and allow you to make an informed decision at the end of this presentation. If it is your decision that you say, you know, I don't see anything wrong with pornography, I'm fine, then that's okay. We respect your point of view. But if you say that, you know, I'm struggling with this thing, I agree with your guys' vision, I want to get on board, or I want to help someone who I think may be struggling with this, then we are also there with you to respect your decision. So what I want to look at is the present day situation that we're facing. You know, no one ever really thought that 2020 was going to be the year that it is turning out to be. It is very crazy. I think all of us on this call here would agree. To some extent, it really has changed our way of living. But what we are experiencing, from my personal view of the world right now, is that we're experiencing a pandemic that is within a pandemic. What do I mean by that? Right now, the world is so focused on the effects and solving the issue that is COVID-19 that we are not really seeing the impact that it has on our society and the impact that it has with everyone being home and pornography being easily accessible. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys here as we jump into the information. Right? So this is one of my favorite gospel scriptures, and it says, "You shall know the truth, and the truth will set you free." So tonight we're going to talk about the truth that the porn industry, that Hollywood, that society does not want to look at. All right, and the organization that I shared with you guys before is Fight the New Drug. Now, what I want to look at specifically, I just share with you guys a short video as to who Fight the New Drug is really, how we started, and what we have done so far. So I'm just going to play this audio for you guys, and then we go straight into the presentation.
Decisions are constantly made without the knowledge of how they will affect us, our society, and our world. But what if we did know the effects? would someday lead to a better world. Every person has a choice. We choose what we buy, what we wear, what we say, and what we do. These choices contribute to an ever-growing swell that drives the course of
society, eventually defining an entire generation. But it all starts with one choice from one person. 2 generations ago, society began making choices that have shaped today's understanding of pornography. In 1948, Dr. Alfred Kinsey published a best-selling book that suggested that all forms of sexual behavior should be normalized and that people should pursue all sexual urges regardless of age. Businessmen capitalized on this new idea and porn magazines hit the newsstands. Many became convinced that it was cool, harmless, and a gentleman's pursuit. Then, in 1993, came the internet. And like a tidal wave, pornography flooded the World Wide Web as a generation became consumed. And now, for the first time in history, hardcore pornography can be accessed from anywhere and at any time. So what does this mean for our generation? Through new innovations in brain technology, psychology, and sociology, we now know the truth about pornography. Porn is like a drug. It can rewire the brain, form addictions, alter views about sex, objectify the human body, fuel the demand for sex slavery, and reshape society as a whole. Pornography is often violent and abusive, a degrading lie that distorts the very meaning of healthy relationships and love. We are the first generation in the history of the world to face the issue of pornography to this intensity and scale. We are also the first generation with a science-based understanding of the harm pornography can do. And with that knowledge, we feel the responsibility to share it with others. We are determined to be the generation who pursues real love and rejects its hollow counterfeit. We will fight this new drug, and we will not rest until the world knows that pornography is harmful.
All right, guys, so that's just a quick introduction as to who we are and what our mission really is about. And as we continue to go through the presentation, I want to look at the facts on what is happening in the industry of pornography while the world has been so focused on COVID-19. So back in March of this year, March the 16th to be exact, one of the top porn site, Pornhub, revealed that they have experienced an 11.6% increase in viewers to their website. The number of visitors, guys, before that to their website was 120 million persons would view pornography from their website. As of COVID-19, that number has increased to 134 million viewers per day. And I believe because our new safety mechanism is to keep everyone at home, while individuals are home, they now have access to this. What Pornhub has decided to do to help the COVID-19 is to issue to countries that are most severely impacted by COVID-19 free premium access to their website. These are countries like Italy, France, and Spain. They give to every single person living in these 3 countries free access. You didn't have to pay anything to this content. So you have children that are at home because schools are closed. You have parents who are at home as well. And what they have now, their source of entertainment is free pornography, which I believe after we get COVID-19, by the grace of God, under control, we're going to see the spin-off effect of what people being exposed to hardcore pornography can have on our society as a whole. One porn site, 2 years ago, I thought that this fact was worth sharing with you guys. One porn site back in 2018 said that the world watched 4.5 billion hours of pornography in 1 year, which is equivalent to 5,000 centuries, 5,000 years of you just looking at pornography in 1 year was recorded by the data and the statistics that was shared on this website. We have a graph here that I wanted to share with you guys that shows some of the top countries that experienced increased in the viewing of pornography, from Italy experiencing a 13.8% increase to Australia that experienced a 2.1% increase. And I always find it very amusing when I begin to speak about this topic. Most people say that, you know what, porn is not an issue. We don't have an issue with pornography here. I don't struggle with it. My family is good. Everything is just perfect. When we look at the statistics, it tells a different story. All right, guys? So remember, we're just looking at the facts, science, and what personal individuals had experience with pornography in their lives, right? Now, I want to bring it home because we've been looking at, you know, the world. And I know we have a few individuals who are here who are not from Trinidad, but we just want to look at Trinidad specifically, right? What are the stats saying as to where Trinidad is? Because most people are still in denial that porn is even an issue. A lot of people see it as just pure, harmless entertainment. It's adult fun. It's something you do in private time. There's nothing wrong with it. So currently, according to Google Trends, because right now, anytime you want to find something, a recipe, or you don't know, our first go-to friend is Google. So Google experienced a lot of traffic. And according to Google Trend, it says that ranked third in the world currently for the most porn viewed per capita in the world, Trinidad and Tobago, guys. We are number 3. The first country is Zambia, the second being Nepal, and then in comes Trinidad and Tobago. The top 5 areas, because some people believe that, you know, when you look at porn, you could clear your browser, you can look at pornography in incognito mode using Google Chrome, so no one can check your history, everything is safe. But everything you type in on the internet is tracked and monitored and can be traced back to your IP address. So according to Google Trends, the top areas that had the most porn viewed in Trinidad. You guys ready for this? I don't know if you guys are ready for this, but I'm gonna go ahead and share with you the 5 areas. And guys, please do not take any offense, because if you live in any of these areas, it doesn't directly personally reflect that you contributed to this. This is just the facts, right? So the first area is Mayaro, Rio Claro, Mayaro. You have Siparia coming in second, followed by Princestown being third. Cuba, Tabaquita, and Taparo, that entire central region, is fourth, and then you have Debe Penal being fifth. Now the list goes on to the top 15, but I just rounded up for the sake of time for the top 5. So these are the top 5 areas that we view the most porn in this country. All right. It gets even better, guys, because Google Trend goes in to look at the most searched for theme of pornography in Trinidad, and this gives a general idea of the type of things that people are into and that they're looking at. So the top search for themes in Trinidad for pornography have been gay porn. This is followed by Trini porn, transsexual pornography, fake taxi pornography, and granny porn. All right. So I know that this may be shocking to some of you guys, but this is just the facts. And you guys I can back all of these things up if you go to googletrends.com, type in the relevant information, which is most porn viewed in the capita in the world, type in worldwide, you can find these stats. So I didn't make this up. This is not Jerome's research. This is Google Analytics research. All right, guys? So this is where we are as a country. So to deny the fact that we have an issue that is present here, not only in Trinidad, but across the world about pornography, is really not being true to ourselves. So why we share on science is that science is showing that pornography is harmful. And these research are coming out from some of the top institution in the world, an institution like Cambridge, the Maxwell Plain Institute in Germany. We have the University of NYU, that's University of New York. We have University of Arkansas. Some of the top research institutions in the world, they are doing studies that have been done for 30, 25, 15 years on pornography, and they have pulled together the information that I'm going to share with you. So as I mentioned earlier on, we're going to look at how porn affects in 3 specific areas. Firstly, beginning with the brain. Now, as I go through this presentation, I highly recommend, guys, if you have your smartphone with you, or you could quickly grab a pen and a piece of paper to write down any questions you guys may have as I go through the presentation. And I'm going to leave enough time at the end for you guys to have any questions that you may have. I'm also going to post my contact information. So just in case I do not answer any question that you guys have based off of the time frame we have, you can send those messages to me directly, and I'm going to make sure to answer them or guide you to the area that you can have your questions answered. All right? So we're going to look at how it affects the brain. And this is the scientific side behind it, guys. This is what most people do not see, but it happens in a fraction of a second. All right? So when an individual first looks at pornography, the images enters through their eyes, through their iris, because they're looking at it, and it triggers a release of chemicals like dopamine, serotonin, epinephrine, oxytocin. Now, I know that this is not a science class, but some of these chemicals you might have heard of before. Now, when you do hard drugs or you look at pornographic material, your brain is overloaded with a rush of these chemicals that instantly makes you feel good. Because your brain has not been designed to handle that amount of release, it now means that it begins to lose receptors. So you become desensitized to something that you've been looking at for a period of time. Your brain now becomes dependent on that high rush of chemicals. So you literally now need to look at pornography more often, which usually leads to a more hardcore version, because the first image or the first scene that you saw 6 weeks later, it no longer gives you that same high that you had at the beginning. This is why people use experimental drugs to get that high. They're searching for that same feeling that they had at the beginning. And so your brain now becomes dependent, which now forms the start, the very beginning of addiction. Now, I just want to share with you guys that there are stages to addiction. No one just wakes up one morning and decides that I am addicted to coffee or to Coca-Cola or to drugs or to porn. There is a 3-step process that an individual goes through. It becomes a habit where you might start looking at pornography at the beginning. It may just be a habitual thing that you may do ever so often, maybe once a week, once every other week. That then leads to a compulsive behavior where you now start looking at it more frequently, eventually until you get to the point where you're looking at it even though you don't want to. It's now compulsive. It is driving you to seek out more content. All you're thinking about is the last image that you saw, or what if I type in this type of genre of pornography, what will I find? So it creates novelty and creativity, curiosity in the human mind to now push the envelope to find more. And then you have that final stage of addiction where it now starts to control you, where whether you're sleeping, whether you're eating, whether you're at work, you're now looking at it. At this point is where we see very extreme behaviors, people acting out. People might start to, individual might start going to buy sex. They may start seeking out more deviant type of pornography. They may now rewire their template. So if an individual starts as a heterosexual, they may now find themselves being attracted to the opposites, to the same sex. They may be attracted to children. They may be attracted to older people. All of these things happen, and it's an accumulative effect. But as we continue to look at the brain, the part of the brain that is really affected, it's called the frontal lobes. And every single one of us in this call here today, we all have a brain, and it has the frontal lobes. And this is part of our brain that is responsible for us making logical decisions. weighing out different pros and cons in certain situations, the right from wrong, left from right. This part of the brain, because of the rush of the chemicals that we talked about that were released earlier when a person looks at pornography or does hard drug, it dismembers this part of the brain so that it does not function the way that it was designed to do. And this is why you cannot tell someone who is addicted to anything that you should just stop. This is harming you. This is breaking up your family. It is destroying your relationships. They are unable to make that decision because the part of the brain that is responsible for them understanding this no longer function the way it does. You guys see this in every day. You may be in downtown Port of Spain. You may be in your own neighborhood and you may see someone who has been addicted to drugs, let's just say. Their lifestyle, the way that they live, they're no longer able to make a simple decision as, hey, I need to go and bathe, clean myself up, get a haircut, get a job so I could be productive in society. They're not able to do that. Their focus is getting the next high. That's why they beg for money. They may steal. They may do all types of things just to get that next high. All right, guys? So as we move on, one of the personal testimony that I like to share is Mr. Terry Crews himself. Some of you may know this gentleman, acting a lot of funny movies, and he's actually an ambassador for us at Fight the New Drug. And here's what he had to say as to what pornography did to his life and his relationship.
Root it out and call it what it is. My issue was, and is with pornography, is that it changes the way you think about people. People become objects. People become, body parts. They become things to be used rather than people to be loved. Pornography is an intimacy killer. It kills all intimacy. Every time I watched it, I was walled off. It's like another brick that came between me and my wife. I didn't want to be this way. I didn't want to continue to do the things that hurt my wife and hurt my family. I want to help people. That is what I'm about. Guys, it's my mission. It's my life. It's what I do.
And so Terry Crews is actually just one of the individuals who have actually, come out and talked about his struggle. We have Kanye West doing the same thing. Lamar Odom, who is a professional basketball player, did the same thing, and more celebrities and athletes, people who are public figures, are speaking about the effects that pornography has on their lives and how they struggled through it and how they got to, claim their life back. So we're going to go into the heart, which is the relationship side. How does pornography affect your relationship, right? Because I heard some people say that, married couples, they turn to pornography to spice up their bedroom life. Well, believe it or not, there are couples who actually think that that's okay. But let's look at the impact that it has on your relationship in the long term, all right? So this is what studies have revealed while looking at the impact that pornography has on an intimate relationship. And it doesn't even have to be intimate. It can be a simply platonic relationship with your friends, your co-workers, neighbors, all right? So the first thing is that porn users, those who are frequently involved in porn, even casual users of pornography, they express less love for their partners. And that is because when I was addicted to pornography, guys, when I used to view pornography, to this day, I cannot say to you that I saw a video that expressed love. There was no sort of intimacy in any of the videos. It was all about the male being pleasured and the woman being ready to do whatever that this guy requested and wants. So there's no love. And you have young individuals who are now entering into relationships, curious about sex, and they are learning about sex through pornography. And that is what they're learning. Individuals who view pornography are more critical of their partner's appearance. And that is because the women in pornography and the men as well are made to look like they are God's gift to the entire world. They have the perfect bodies. They are photoshopped at the right angle. The makeup is perfect. Their hair is fine. Their muscles are on point. They are just gods. And an individual looking at pornography leaves pornography and comes to his wife or to her husband, and he doesn't look like that, or she doesn't look like that, specifically if there are children involved. The women on this call who are mothers would know that after you go through that beautiful experience of giving birth, that your body is not the same as when you were 15 or 16 years. There's a change. And so you no longer look like that model that is on the screen that everyone is looking at and is lusting after. So they become more critical of their partner's appearance. They become more aggressive and disrespectful. As a matter of fact, there was a study that was done by Anna Bridges, and she was from the University of Arkansas and collaborated with individuals from the University of NYU. And what they did, they took the most rented porn videos for a particular week and the most sold porn videos for a particular week. And they took a very scientific approach to it. They trained individuals to code each scene in the pornographic videos, code them in terms of what physical actions was expressed in each scene and what were the response of the person receiving. And the results of that research show that in 85% of the scenes, there was physical aggression from one person to another. Usually, it would have been the guy being aggressive to the woman. But more interestingly enough, 95% of the times when a woman was hit in those videos, she responded with, she had no response, or she appeared to like being hit and treated that way. So what this is telling the viewers is that if I'm a guy, this is how I'm supposed to treat my partner. And for a woman, if my husband or my boyfriend hits me, I should like it. This is what is being taught. This is the subliminal messages that are being sent out behind these pornographic videos that everyone seems to just be so attracted to, right? Then we have most people are less willing to stay in relationships. There is no commitment. They may get married today, and the next 3 weeks, the next 3 months, you know what, I'm fed up with this, I need to try something else. You are the fault, not me. You need to get better. So no one is willing to be committed to a relationship anymore. Then you have the fact that porn negatively impacts men and women's ability to be aroused. So now you're no longer attracted to your married partner or the person that you're in a relationship with. You're more attracted to the screens, the pixels, and these very well made up models who are on these porn videos. It also creates a false expectation in a relationship. Individuals go into relationship thinking that, you know, I want to get married, sex is just going to be great. I saw this video, this is how I want it, this is what it's going to be like, this is what I'm going to do. And then when you get into the marriage bed, it is nothing like that. It is absolutely nothing like that. Sorry. So then there's a false expectation, which then leads to a person not wanting to stay in a relationship anymore, because this is not how I viewed that marriage or healthy sexuality was going to be in marriage, right? And all of these studies was conducted by Doug Zinnerman and Jennings Bryant at the University of the Indiana, and also University of Evansville. So everything that I share with you guys here can be backed up and properly well researched. So if you want to do personal research and to just find out where I got this information from, I'm going to share that link with you at the end. And I want to share with you one other personal testimony from someone that we all may know. I think she was famous before her famous statement of, you know, entanglement. I think everybody is just like, that's now a common word in conversations right now. But here's what, you know, Jada Pinkett had to say about the effects of pornography.
The effects of pornography on relationships. Yeah. This is an interesting one. And I actually feel like I was using maybe addiction a little lightly. And maybe I will say now that I had an unhealthy relationship to porn at one point in my life where I was trying to practice abstinence.
Do you think that fixation on porn came from an emotional?
It did. You know, it was actually like feeling like an emptiness. At least you think it is.
Exactly.
But it's actually not. And I actually reading like some of the effects of pornography, like the idea that it really gives you false expectations as far as sexual interaction. I can definitely see with men,
see that. Oh, yeah.
you know, how a woman should always be willing and ready.
Exactly.
He should be able to have sex however he wants.
In any position.
Anywhere.
Yeah.
And you should enjoy it no matter what. And it shouldn't just be joy, but it should be just exhilarate, you know, just like static. And even in pornography, you're never tired. There's never a no, you know, so I can definitely see how that could create a unrealistic expectation.
All right, guys. So that is what Jada had to say, and I'm sure that many women, to some point, can agree to that. I say this because every week we receive hundreds, thousands of emails, some people all over the world writing to our organization, seeking help or wanting to share their story of their struggle or their partner's struggle or how pornography affected their relationship, their marriage, and many of the things that people have to say, you can find a common theme, and it's never a positive thing. It is never a positive thing, guys. So the last one that we're going to look at is how pornography affects the world. I'm going to share some facts with you guys as well in this section as we begin. Studies have shown that there's a direct correlation between pornography and human trafficking. You know, recently right here in Trinidad and Tobago, we discovered through the TTPS several human trafficking rings right here in Trinidad and Tobago, right? We also discovered that women and children who have been rescued from human trafficking rings said that pornography was shown to them to groom them into what to do. So pornography plays a role even in human trafficking and in prostitution as well. Then you have people who view pornography are at a higher risk to have sex before marriage, and those in marriage are at a higher risk to have infidelity, be unfaithful to their partner. Then we talked about the death of despair. And this is the fact that the life expectancy of adult actors and actresses in the adult industry is only 36 years old. The average adult in the United States of America, the average life expectancy is 76. When you look at the porn industry, it's half of that. And why my heart cries out to those involved in the porn industry is that even the clients, even people who are consuming pornography don't really care about the actors or the actresses. Half of the time they're not using their real names, it's a fake identity, and no one really cares about their goals or their dreams or their background, where they came from. And we see this happening time and time again. Back in 2016, these young ladies who were porn actresses all 5 of these young ladies committed suicide, either through drug overdose or a fatal shot that they inflicted on themselves because of the toll, the mental and emotional toll that pornography took on them. And this was just 2016. This is just a few of those stories who we know. There are countless pornography actors and actresses who have lost their lives because of being in that industry. And the sad thing about this, guys, the sad reality is that they are no longer with us, but their videos, their images are still being viewed right now as we speak by someone somewhere in the corner of the world to this very day. And I think that image that the porn industry sells, that this is so glamorous, this is great, you know, we get paid, it is a fake guys, do not buy into the lie that these individuals are enjoying. They actually paid to do that. So where can we go from here? You know, what hope do we have after looking at the facts? And there's more facts to share with you guys on this. I just slim it down so we can be respectful of the time that we have. All right, guys? So what hope is there for you and I, having decided that this is the truth of what pornography is? I did not know this. What can I do? What stance do I take? Well, I have put together 5 things that individuals who may be struggling with pornography, and remember, even though you don't have an issue with porn, these 5 steps can help someone you may know that may be struggling with pornography. So the first thing we look at is exercise, healthy eating, and proper sleep will never go out of style. And these are the simple things we do in our daily activities. Now, because of COVID-19, which has changed our entire life, most people are home. Some are becoming couch potatoes. Some are just, you know, it's hard to go out. You always have to wear your mask. It's difficult. But guys, this is a time that calls to each and every single one of us to be creative. You cannot play with your health because your health is your first wealth. If you have all the money in the world, but your health is poor, you cannot enjoy that money. So we have to take the simple things in life that are free, that means the most to us. Exercising, stay healthy, proper sleep. Avoid shaming yourself. Give yourself permission to change. One of the most difficult things with individuals is that they feel so guilty, so messed up, so alone in this struggle that they blame themselves for being in this position. And the truth is, guys, an individual looking at pornography is not a bad person. There's an underlying issue as to why they are at that point. And if you encounter a friend who is struggling with pornography, the last thing you want to do is to shame them for what it is that they are struggling with. All right. The next thing is, do not be afraid to open up. That individual who may be struggling, who may be on this call tonight that may be struggling with pornography, find someone that you can trust. Find a community that you can turn to and be brave enough to say, I need help with this. Today, as compared to when I first started seeking help, there are many groups that are existing right now that provides free counseling and help to individuals who may be struggling or may want advice as to how to help someone that is struggling. Maybe you're in a relationship right now and perhaps your partner may have had an history with porn and you want to know, how do I begin this awkward conversation with him or with her? We have just the thing I'm going to share with you guys in a few. Find a support group. Some of the support group I was talking about is NoFrap. If you go on Google, again, go on Google, you type in NoFrat or Reboot Nation or pornfree.org. These are some organizations that provide a global community of individuals who are struggling, who share tips and techniques. And it's just one word. It could be just one link. It could be just one audio that you listen to that can be your breakthrough from struggling with this issue. And then last but not least, be patient with yourself. When you're going through this process, it will take some time. You may have setbacks. You may go back to where you were before. But every single day, God's grace is renewed. Every single day. And St. Faustina, in her book, The Diary of St. Faustina, talks about the mercy of God that is revealed and is renewed to us every single day, guys. Every day you have the opportunity to get up and begin again. It doesn't matter where you came from, how much porn you look at, what type of porn you look at. God does not care about that. He wants you. And today it is not a bad day to begin to answer that call to go back to a life of freedom. All right, guys. So some list of resources. I'm going to leave this page up for you guys to write down some of the resources as I go through them. You have fighttheniewdrum.org. That's our personal website. It's tons of research and tips and advice that you will find there, as well as personal testimonies. Some of the personal testimonies are very deep and touching. And you might be able to identify with someone somewhere at the other side of the world who may be going through your identical struggle, right? We have the truthaboutporn.org, all of these scientific facts that I've just shared with you. You can find on the truthaboutporn.org. It's a completely scientific website where you can find only pure research. If you're a person that likes facts and figures and research, you can find all of your information about the impacts of porn on the brain, the relationship, and society on this website, j-stringer.org. He is a mental health counselor from Seattle in the United States, and he actually has a sexual behavioral self-assessment that is online. And when you do this assessment, it is a 40-page assessment that asks you questions. And what it does is assess the reason why you may be going back to porn, the reason why porn is a difficult thing that you're struggling with in your life. I highly recommend it. I personally have done that and continue to do work on myself to stay away from that type of lifestyle. This is a great resource that you can go to. Porn-free.org is a fantastic website that shows the spiritual effects of the negative effects that pornography has on the spiritual realm. And then fightthenewdrug.org/blueprint is one that I highly recommend. And then Fortified is a free app, especially for teenagers who may be struggling with pornography. This app is free to download, and it's one of the most successful apps that is out on the market today that has had tremendous results for individuals who have been struggling with pornography.